go ahead and build a new component in our React app that we've been working on for to integrate with Graphir over the last couple of weeks. That it's going to enable our users to search for patients by their given name or their family name. By their family name. So this is what we kind of have so far. Just a React app. We've got the ability to display a list of patients. If we go to the home page, we're seeing, once that loads, a specific patient and their list of appointments. So that would kind of be the patient's landing page when they were to enter the portal. So really what we're going to build today is going to be an example of the physician's landing page and how they're able to search for specific patients.
Sounds good.
Cool. So to start off, we went over to, I'm over at Banana Cake Pop right now, and I was just trying to put together an example query of how searching by family name would work. So we've got that here. So we're searching for patients with a family name of Chalmers. This is the rest of our query. And we can go ahead and execute on that and see some sample results over here in that right panel. So that looks like it's giving us what we want. So we're able to go ahead and pull that over into React now. Previously and already up in our repository, we've got a GraphQL hook. So we're really just going to kind of build on top of that and leverage that in a new hook that's going to, or in a new physician's hook that's going to allow us to do like the various physician pieces. So let's go ahead and create that. And probably copy a little bit out of our patient's hook that's doing similar activities here. And let's go ahead and use this to get the syntax of how we pull in a query. And then just one of our hooks down here. So let's do function use search patients by family name. And then we'll export that. We'll go ahead and do it as exporting an object so that we can add additional functionality to this as necessary. So first things first, let's update this query to match the query that we just were looking at over in Banana Cake Pop. So I'm just going to literally copy this. Into here. And then I'm going to pop over to here so I can remember how to implement a query parameter. Save that. And then the implementation of the hook is going to be very similar to this. So we're just going to copy this one out of here and change what we need to. So our query name is, that's going to be the wrong, get patient by family name. That. And then, so that should give us everything we need to be able to search for our patients. So now let's go ahead and put together a new component to be able to do that. So first piece is going to be adding a new file here, and we'll just call this physicians. Yes. So let's do import use. I forget what I called that hook already. So you can see it's kind of giving us an example here with GitHub Copilot.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's pretty nice with the
yeah. Sometimes it catches me by surprise of how
hints. They're not bad.
Yeah, how quickly it puts things together there. So what I'll probably do for the time being is just let's log this out to the screen so that we can just verify that's working. And then if we pop over to here really quick and go to our patients list, let's just hard code an example to make sure our hook's wired up right first. So it looks like we've got a few Peter Chalmers here in our sample data. So let's do that. And we'll need to create a route for this. So let's do a new, so we'll need to pull in the component here. Nice IntelliSense there. Thanks, VS Code.
Looks like an escape character or something on line 5 up there.
Oh, thank you. Cannot resolve /hooks. It looks like we've got something wrong in our positions file. Nope. Positions component. That's an object being returned. Make sure we get the curly braces on there, Phil.
Seems like maybe I was supposed to have caught that. Sorry.
That's okay. There we go. Cool. So that page should be wired up now. Let's go ahead and go back to this and open up our dev toolbar. Developer tools. So that should let us see our console.log here. Let's just go to the home page, refresh the app really quick, and then we should.
If they ever change the key binding on that dev tools to something other than F12, I am in big trouble. I'll never be able to find it.
Control-Shift-I also opens it.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So, cool. So it looks like we got some kind of logging out here. Looks like
nice.
We're seeing a bunch of patients. All with different IDs. So what I like to do on here too is bounce over to the GraphQL query, and I can see the actual results on here as well.
Very cool.
As JSON data. So yeah, that helps, I think, with the debugging process a little bit on this. So yeah, we're definitely getting a patients list.
So you have just basically like a placeholder right now in the component where it's just rendering some text or something to the screen, but you're using the console logger to test out the hook that you wrote.
Yep.
Which fetches the data so that we can at least determine whether that's working properly before we start building up the UI. Is that kind of the technique we're going after?
That is nice. Exactly it. So
I like that.
What's really nice here is we've already built a component earlier for listing out patients, and that'll render out some of our patients. So we could probably do a little bit of refactoring. We probably have a little bit of an opportunity for refactoring here to export this and use it in 2 different places. So for the time being, for this example, I'm not going to do that refactoring. I'm just going to make a copy of this component. But what I'll end up doing is pulling this out to its own React component that can then be just leveraged in 2 different places since we're showing the same thing. So again, let's keep that hard-coded search in there for the time being. And let's just add this React component. And instead of, so I'm going to change this from a div to a fragment. And that just basically is a unrendered element that allows you to have child elements down inside of React. And then I'm going to render out the positions.
And that's just because React, like a component in React, always needs to have like a single root element.
Yep, that's correct. Yeah, if you're going to have multiple components together, there has to be a single root element. Thanks for catching that.
Cool.
So we'll just render out the patients list. We'll just basically return back the same thing on this position page that we're returning there. And I have too many files named the same thing. This is why naming things is important. Let's do this. And it looks like we're going to need to pull in our loading component. Okay. Go ahead and save that. Another valuable lesson for why we should have refactored that out to a hook. Now we've got to pull, or not a hook, a separate component, because now we've got to pull in all of these same pieces here. Let's get rid of the loading from up here because it's going to get mad that we've got duplicates. Save that, and everything's green now. So if we go back to our position page, this automatically refresh. We've got the hot reload enabled. So that's really nice there for us. Kill the dev toolbar for just a second. So now we're seeing a list of patients, all with the family name of Chalmers on here. So that's hard-coded still, though, at this point. So I think our next step is going to be, we don't need this log on here anymore, is going to be to go ahead and get an input box on the page to let our users search for that list. So let's go ahead and start getting that wired up down inside of here.
I noticed on the app there, once we're visualizing that list, it seems like there's just a ton of patients in our sample data set that have the same last name. I think that's just coming from, we're using the Happy Fire instance, and people duplicate a lot of data out there. So I don't believe that's a bug with what we've done. It's just the fact that we're pulling data from the Happy Fire instance, and there's lots and lots of duplicate data out there.
Sure. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up some sample code really quick. We're using React Bootstrap for our layout here, and I have not done a form in React Bootstrap for a little while, so I'm just going to go out here really quick and get some of their samples for how to lay out a form really quickly. And this is going to be a pretty simple form. So actually, I think I can probably just copy this first part of it because it looks like it's got what I want on here. It's got a group. It's got a label. Got a control for, obviously, we'll use a different type. We're going to be doing text. And then it's got an actual text box on there. So that should get us what we need. And we'll need to do this import of form from React Bootstrap as well. And again, this was just to give us a quick way of laying this out a little bit without having to write our own layout framework.
And you might have a typo there on line 7. You said from.
Oh, thank you.
Form.
Still can't do it.
There we go.
Perfect. Thank you, sir. And then let's just go ahead and do that. And then /form right there. It doesn't like something we've gotten here. JSX fragment doesn't have a closing. but it does. Form group. There we go. It was just taking a few minutes to update. So again, I'm a big fan of saving this and kind of checking my work fairly quickly. So looks like we've got the form showing up on here now, or the form field. So let's go ahead then and change this to what we need it to be. Control ID, we'll just call this given name.
Is given or family?
Oh, family, thank you.
I guess that's last name, but in Fire they call it family name.
And I don't think we need that text below there. That was just, or no, we can say search patient by family name. Nice and easy there. So again, I just want to make sure I kind of have this looking largely the way I want it to. And I think that's fine for now. We're not going to need any buttons on this form for the time being. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to hook this box up to the state of the page here in just a second. And then we're going to have it searching in real time as the characters go out. In a more real world scenario, we would probably want to pull in another JavaScript library and do something called debouncing on that so that we wait till the user has stopped typing for a few seconds before we do that search. But just for today, to show this quick little demo of how we're pulling in this component, we're just going to search in real time. So
gotcha. So what does that do? It basically prevents it from like immediately searching and sending out like a ton of API requests.
Yeah, that's exactly
like
it, right?
Okay.
Exactly. So that the way this is going to work today is every single character I type in is going to cause
execute a search.
Execute a search against the API with some of the library and debounce, or some of the JavaScript library debounce capabilities. We're able to say, hey, I want to wait until the user has stopped typing for a configurable amount of time before we execute that function. So like we might do 2 seconds on here to give the user, depending on what their typing speed is, enough time to do that. So what we're going to go ahead and do though is we're going to do use state. We're going to do a new variable constant. Yep. React picked exactly what I wanted to do. And then instead of searching by this hard-coded value here, we're going to search by that family name state variable that we just declared. And then I've got just some sample code over here on the side for handling the change on a text box that I'm just going to copy and paste and pull in here really quick. And what this will do, I'm going to change this just a little bit. And I'm going to do set state and set the family name equal to the value that is coming in here. So we can do that, handle change event, and then we're just going to go wire our text box up and give it an on change event here, form.text. So it's going to have a value set to family name, and on change is going to do our handle change event that we just defined up there. Set state's not defined. Oh, that's because it's set family name. And then we also forgot to pull in our use. Oh, I don't like that syntax. I would rather import use state. That's just a personal preference. There's no technical reason why we would want to do that. Something's never being used name. So I'm just going to pull that off of there. And so it looks like when we pass nothing in for
now we're getting other last names.
Yep. Yep. So this might be a good example. It looks like there's only a couple with null as the last name on here because somebody didn't put in a last name. So let's.
Yeah, I wonder if it'll find that as a string value.
Wrong button. Didn't mean to try to print. So what's interesting here is it's not executing. It's not wanting to update that I'm seeing. So let's go look as we type here. Let's do. I'm going to do a hard refresh on this page, make sure our latest code is pulled in here. Okay, so it made the GraphQL query. So let's just.
So I wonder if it's updating your state variable, but it's not like triggering the hook to update.
Yeah, that's it seems like it's not triggering the hook to re-render, which is kind of interesting. So I wonder if that's something that we have inside of the hook that's causing that. Let's go. So, well, first and foremost, okay, we're searching by family name. Let's just throw a console.log of the family name on here. Because what that's going to do is that's going to allow us to just verify that that state variable is getting updated. So console is empty right now. So let's, and that appears to possibly be the issue. It's not updating that state variable correctly. Another way we can debug this a little bit. So it did not like searching with a null value.
Just
an
an
empty, heads up. Yeah. So that's why we saw that set of errors. So what I would expect to see here is that as I'm typing into that, I would be seeing that family name updated.
Yeah, it's almost like the on change isn't.
Yeah, and I wonder if that's what's happening. I wonder if we need to look at, so since React Bootstrap is a abstraction over top of the normal forms, we may need to, well, here's what we can do. So we can pretty easily verify if this on change is being called by console.logging out the event there, right?
Yep.
So let's do, so I think we can unequivocally say console.log is not firing.
Yep.
I'm sorry, the change handlers not firing. So just looking really quick of how to bind this. And again, I apologize a little bit here. I typically pull in a form library when I'm doing a lot of forms in React, just because it builds a lot of this capability into us. But I was trying to go the more simple route today. So I think
I've seen
let's try this. Let's do.
You have to use like the delegate method of doing that?
Possibly.
Yeah, there you go, just like that.
Yeah, so basically the change I've just made is to make that a little bit more in line.
I don't think you need the semicolon at the end of that.
Let's see. So we're still not getting any logging. What'd you say? You don't think we need the semicolon? Oh, I didn't save this. I think we've got some extra. I think
put that all
Copilot,
on one line and see.
Yeah, may have added some. So let's do this. And what you're saying on change and then E, like something like that.
Yeah, do like e.target.value.
.target.value.
And why is it upset about our
I think
braces
GitHub Copilot's trying to add a few too many braces on here.
There it goes.
There,
okay,
I think it's happy now. So let's. Yep. Still not. So I wonder if that on change event isn't. Are we on the right thing? So we're on the form dot. We are on the wrong thing, Phil. We're on the form dot text that is below there.
There we go.
So
no wonder.
Yeah. So let's get rid of that. Easy mistakes. Let's do that.
I missed that too. I saw text and assumed that was the text box that we were working with.
You know, and when I was originally typing that, it wasn't giving me any kind of IntelliSense when I was adding the value and on change, which I would have expected it to.
Yeah.
So.
All right. So now.
There we go. So we can definitely see that that's updating now.
Yep. Oh, and you can see like every letter you type, you get a log there. Nice.
So let's clear this out really quick and just see. So we're still not we're definitely seeing the text update as we would expect to. We're definitely seeing this console.log that we would expect to. Line 17's logging for us there. So we're definitely logging out the updated family name as it's searching.
Yep.
But we're still not getting a refreshed hook. So that's interesting to me. And I wonder, I'm going to clear out a couple of these console.logs really quick. And that since we kind of have confirmed that that's working. So if we go look at our hook real quick, and we're going to go all the way down into our GraphQL hook. And I wonder if what's happening is we're doing a technique called useRef on here for the API function that's being executed. And what that does is it prevents this from re-rendering unless on every page render. Basically, it prevents this function from getting recalled almost in like an infinite loop. So I would wonder if our API function, if we kind of go up a level to the hook that's calling it, is not updating based on this variable name that we're passing into it. So what we might have to do is figure out a way to get that. So I'm going to try something. This may cause an infinite loop inside of my browser. I'm going to change that to use state instead of use ref. Didn't like that.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if we could just put a use effect at like in our component. So when that updates, it forces the hook to call again.
Let's do that. Let's get it out of the state management first and see. So hooks cannot actually be inside of a use effect. So I think, and again, let's add some error handling here. So what we're doing here is we're exporting a function. So what we can do is this is getting called and searched immediately. So in this particular case, we actually want it to export this. I think we want to be able to just re-execute this request when this loads. So let's go back over to here. So there's the request. So I'm going to change this and have it export the request as well. And that'll allow me to have it export the request here. And then if we and so we may need since we're doing things dynamically, we might need to build a new type of hook. This was this one was met with the intent that it would be called on the page load and not be changing here. So what we're probably going to need to be able to do is call the hook, have a hook that we can call that's basically just returning back a function to us that we can then call every time that this changes. So, and that was kind of to the vein of what you just said, Phil, right? We wanted to add a use effect here. And then every time that family name changes,
yeah, it would have like a request function or something returned that you can then call it again.
Yep, exactly. So let's see, how can we do that? So let's do this. I just want to see what this request is in this scenario. So we can see that that request is an asynchronous function.
Yep.
That we can then call with similar items to what we called over here in this hook. So we executed the query and we passed in some variables here. So we may want to kind of change the way we're doing this here, is what I'm thinking, and have it use GraphQL. Have this just return back a function that we can call directly instead of trying to return back the data. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? Do you want to give it a try?
That's the way I've gotten this to work in the past.
Yep.
I don't know if this sample will help or if we need to change a lot there, but
let's open it up and see.
Like there's a request function there that like does the work of calling the API, and then that gets spit out so you can.
Yeah, that makes sense. So let's try some. I see what you're doing there. So let's try something similar to that inside of here. So we've got our use effect on here. So let's add a new state variable and do const patient list, that patient list, and it's going to default to an empty array. And then when that changes, so let's go ahead and do a use effect here, or inside of our use effect, we're going to call that request. And if we go back and look over at our log, I apologize, I forget what parameters that was expecting. Let's look at your example here. Yeah, and this was what our use GraphQL was based on. So you're returning back the request and allowing it to make an extra call or allow something downstream to make the call. Is there an implementation example of something pulling this in here?
Yeah, let me grab that really quick for you.
So is it? I think it's inside of one of these components on the.
Yeah, probably be like team list.
So if we're going to try to do something similar to that, use GraphQL. Okay, so I'm just going to grab one of these lines really quick. So you did something a little bit more like that, I think.
Yeah, and yep, in your physician hook, yep.
Yep. So it's telling us it wants that hook to be called inside of a top level component. I think we might run into the same issue that we had before. So what I'm gonna do is inside of this, I'm gonna have it return just this. Get rid of that. So that's happy now. We can go back over to our physicians component, use patient search, and then do const search equals use patient search. I guess that doesn't need to take any parameters. And then what it's returning back is this use GraphQL function, which is going to take in the family name. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So we can just have that be use patient search, and then inside of here, we can call search and just pass in the family name. And what I'm going to do is that returning back a promise. So let's go back inside of that hook and just let's see if something's getting it. We'll go to the browser and watch to see if something gets executed here. So that error is because we tried to do that too early. So what we probably need to do is set a dependency in here for search so that won't try to render immediately. We've got an excessive console.log in here of the request that we don't need. So what's happening is this doesn't have a value immediately. I think we're ending up with the same result from this and from this. And what we're going to have to do is a little bit of a refactor of this hook. So I think what we're going to do is pause the recording for the time being. And Phil and I are going to work on that a little bit offline, and we'll come back and show the results of where we got to with that.
Sounds like a good plan to me.
And we're back.
Hey, Phil, welcome back. We left off yesterday. We were having a little bit of an issue where the search feature for our physicians dashboard page wasn't working. And we said we'd get back to this, and now we're back to it. What we discovered while we were gone is that using this use ref function was probably the wrong React hook to use right here. That's meant to be more for a value. Whereas if we were to use the use callback hook, which I've got commented out down here, that is meant for more of a scenario like what we're doing here, where we're passing a function into something. So we just made a couple of really minor changes to get this to work. Number one, we added an additional argument to our use GraphQL function. So it's taking in arguments. And these are the arguments that use callback is going to listen to, similar to like a React use effect hook, to determine whether or not something has changed and whether or not it needs to re-execute the function. And then we added this line here that I'm just going to comment out really quick. So basically what this is doing is making it so that previous areas where we were using this hook, they don't have to pass in a set of arguments. It makes it optional. So we're just looking if there's arguments, we're spreading the arguments. Otherwise, we're just setting an empty array. Just a real quick thing. So we're going to go ahead and get rid of this use ref here.
So to summarize, this is the GraphQL hook essentially that you wrote that's calling our API.
Yep.
And in the previous session, the problem we were running into, to kind of boil it all down, was there wasn't a way to, like, after this app first loaded, it would call the API the first time, but we didn't have a way that we could like trigger it to call again and update.
Yeah, that's correct.
And the way that we were trying to make that happen, it was just kind of getting tripped up by the use ref hook.
Yeah,
and now
that's
you've
correct.
discovered the use callback and the addition of the dependencies that we can inject.
Yep, that's exactly it. And we can kind of show what that looks like over in the physicians hook now.
Oh, great. Okay.
So we've got use ref up here that we don't need anymore. Let's just try and get rid of some of those warnings that it's giving us. So let's look at let's look at the use physicians hook now. So yeah, to summarize what you just said, essentially the first time this was getting called with a family name, which was an empty parameter, it was caching that version of the function with that exact parameter in memory, never updating it again unless I did like a hard refresh on the single page application. Okay. So now with that use callback with a parameter, which you can see here, we're passing in that family name variable as a parameter that it's looking out for. When it sees a change to that parameter, which is in this little dependency array right here, it says, oh, hey, this is a new function. I'm going to re-render this thing with different with different values, which will subsequently make it recall the API. And then this line that I talked about here, the dependencies, where it's looking for the arguments, spreading it, and then if there's no arguments, it's just giving an empty array. That was simply so that we didn't have to go back and touch the other places where we had already leveraged this use GraphQL hook. So it's really just kind of backwards compatibility with our API that we had already established, and just making it so that future uses of this API don't necessarily have to pass in a dependency array that they don't care about. And that's going to be more common in scenarios where you're just doing a straight query like this versus where you're passing in a parameter like we were on the fly, like we were on the physicians page. So let's go ahead and see that in action. Let's go load that up. We have a couple errors from the way in there from the way I had that code written before. So we'll just do a hard refresh on this page, and we can see
loads the first time, and we get all
loads
our
the first time,
patients,
and then let's search for Chalmers. That looks like a name we have on here. So
but it's kind of updating randomly.
So yes, and this goes back to the issue we talked about when we first started, where we may want to go back at some point in the future and add the bounce capability to this page. And what that is it basically delays execution of a function call. And there's a library that I like to use personally called Lodash. Pretty common JavaScript library, provides a lot of really nice utility functions that does have built-in bounce capabilities. So let's go back and look at the code, and we can pull in that library really quick and show what the fix is for that. Sound good?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Cool. So let's go look at our physicians component really quick that we've built. And again, so we've got a change handler called here on the on handle change, and that's calling this. But what's happening is every single key click that's getting immediately called. So we've got 4, 5, 6 API calls happening, and all resolving at different times, depending on how fast I'm talking or how fast I'm typing. and the order of which those API calls are being responded back. So what we can do with that Lodash library is go and import that. I'm importing the entire library here. There are ways to import just specific components if you want to do that, but it's a pretty commonly used library and it's pretty lightweight, so I'm just importing the entire thing. And then what I'm going to do is go ahead and comment out this handle change, and I'll show you this new handle change that we've got here. So it's calling Lodash.bounce, which then takes in an anonymous or a delegate function. So that's taking event as a parameter, doing the same exact thing that we were doing before, but now it's got this extra parameter for number of milliseconds we want to delay. And what that does is it waits for the input to pause for that amount of time before it executes this function. So
nice.
If I type 2 characters really fast, it'll execute, and then type a couple more characters, it'll still execute again. So you might need to play around with this value for your particular situation. 500 milliseconds is a pretty reasonable time for a reasonable speed typing. But you may need to bump that up to like a second and a half, depending on what your user's feedback is. So there's some value in maybe making that a configurable object in your application as well. So we made that change. Let's save that really quick and go back out and look at our application here. Yep. Love no warnings. And so this time, let's search for Chalmers again. And we can see it waited to do the search and only got back that single set of results. So that's it. That's our new component added to our application. Ended up being pretty straightforward, though we did run into a couple of stumbling blocks that we had to work through. We're going to make sure we include those in the video for everybody, where we were struggling with that, just to see that we struggle too.
Nice.
Any
I love it.
Questions, Phil?
Nope, nothing for me. I love this.
Cool. So just to summarize what we did, we built a new hook, a physician's hook, that is running a GraphQL query to get back a patient list by name for a physician. That was leveraging our existing GraphQL hook, which we had to make some fixes to support this scenario. And then we built a physician component that's basically leveraging that hook and searching by that family name and allowing one of our physicians to do a quick search and pull back data from that GraphQL. Hope everybody enjoyed this session, and we'll be back soon with more content.